comments. Let's bring in James Moore, former Conservative cabinet minister, into this conversation too. So, James, let me get your reaction to that initially too. I think, the Prime Minister clearly, after some time abroad, trying to make and set the tone for what's going to happen here domestically in this new session of Parliament, but then doesn't stick around to take questions or be part of question period, which we're going to dip into about half an hour from now. Anything to make of that or no?
No, I mean, look, Prime Minister's on a tight schedule. He'll be in Parliament. He'll get questions. There's plenty of opportunity, to do all those kinds of things. But I do think, here's my pivot. I do think a question looming over the Prime Minister as we go into this week and the rest of this month, and then we go into the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, which is I say the Super Bowl because that was when the Prime Minister sort of earmarked as the sort of next tranche of major projects for the country. But what he's going to do, where we are. He gave his landmark speech in Davos, Switzerland. He got the attention of the world, got the attention of the Prime Minister, got the attention of Pierre Poilievre, who said that the speech in terms of its framing of where Canada is in the world right now and what we need to do going forward was on point. So, political leaders crave for an opportunity to become Prime Minister or Premier or Mayor and have a clear, wide open field in front of them to kind of do whatever it is that they want and to move forward. And the Prime Minister's in that spot now. There's great Canadian solidarity about realigning the Canadian economy to be less dependent on the United States, to make major investments, to make us more competitive, to get our tax policy right, to readjust after a lost decade, frankly, under Justin Trudeau that was sort of mired in misdirection and in incompetence on the economic files, and to move forward meaningfully. And so you see the Prime Minister standing there with Doug Ford. You heard what Pierre Poilievre had to say. So we have a session of Parliament now in front of us where the Prime Minister can actually take some significant concrete action in a way that Canadians are looking for. Canadians are inspirited to do something big and substantive for the country, and the Prime Minister has a real opportunity to do something, and I hope we'll hear more about that very soon.
Yeah, and again, we maybe heard a small preview today, but again, take your point on the major projects clearly and what's going to come and what we're going to hear about in the next couple of weeks. And also balancing that too, James, as we go forward, because he has another trip to Australia planned now for the month of March. He's still going to continue to take these world trips as he still tries to, again, expand the trade routes and expand the trading partners with this country across, at least across the globe. How do you foresee that balancing too as we get into that, as we continue through this session of Parliament?
We still have the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. We still have, broad access to the American market, and that's a huge benefit for Canada. But as we've seen, that reality is uncertain and unknown, and Donald Trump is going to be president for the next 3 years. There's the midterms. There's the U.S. Supreme Court decision on the IEEPA tariffs, and we don't know where that's going to go or what President Trump's response to all that's going to be. So there's broad uncertainty there. So in trying to rebalance Canada's trade portfolio internationally and to get into other markets, it's not just you flip one light switch and you have access to a market that's comparable to the United States. It's a whole suite of engagements. And so he was in China, a couple of weeks ago, and that was about getting tariffs limited on canola seeds and getting more lobster sold into China in exchange for, 49,000 EVs being offered to the Canadian marketplace. But it was also about more tourism coming into Canada for the World Cup. And so it's going to be commodity by commodity, market by market, opportunity by opportunity. And it's a slow go. It's a lot of sweat equity that has to be invested on a commodity-specific basis or a deal-specific basis and a market-specific basis. Mm-hmm. But it's the blocking and tackling and spade work that you have to do in order to take real advantage of the global footprint that Canada has in terms of our trade deals that, frankly, were set up by Brian Mulroney and Stephen Harper. And now under Mark Carney, he can take advantage of it. But it's a Canadian effort, and it's a global opportunity.
James Moore, former Conservative cabinet minister, always appreciate your insight. Thank you for this, sir.
Thank you.